Hey, what is up, Money Masters? I have some thoughts for you. I was just at a workshop this past weekend, and I'm thinking about business cycles. I'm thinking about investment cycles. I'm thinking about our economy. I'm thinking about a lot of the emotional trauma we all deal with in regard to those things. We have up and down cycles of our income. If we're entrepreneurs, all of us know what it's like to have a really, really good month, perhaps even a good quarter, and then whack. It's like we get smashed in the face and something happens, an employee disappears, a marketing event falls flat, and then we have a down quarter, maybe a down month, and we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? My business is failing. And then, things ramp back up again and we're doing fine. And so I was in a meeting this morning with one of my clients, business owner, who's in one of those down cycles, had a great first quarter, moving into this month of April, being in the second quarter, and things are down 21% over the prior month. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Actually, he said it was more than that. It was more like 30%. But I'm like, well, how's the year so far? Well, we're up 21%. Okay, well, what are we worried about? And as much as I appreciate the emotional frustration associated with it, it's just a mental game, right? All of us are in this mental game. We're trying to figure out what's right, what's wrong. Am I good? Am I good enough? Is this thing actually going to fall apart that I've been building? This baby that I've been nurturing and moving into that toddler phase, and then into that like self-sufficient 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old phase where they're becoming independent. Our businesses are a lot like children. Like, all of us understand what that's like to some extent. We've either been parents, or we have nieces or nephews, or observing our neighbors. Like, we have experiences with children, how they go through these phases of success, but they're so persistent, right? Children are persistent. We need to persist as business owners in that same sort of situation. Persist through the difficulty, because it's in the difficulty that we find opportunity. So let me give you another case in point. So the weekend that I just spent was in Florida. I was at an event called Money Is Mastermind. And there I was both a student and a mentor and a vendor. So aside from my work with Money Mastery Coaching, I maintain a license as a life insurance agent, and I've been a strategist with the use of whole life insurance for the past 14 years, since 2009. And we use this concept we call the family bank, building the family bank. And this is the core reason I was there with this company called Paradigm Life, representing this concept of the family bank. And what it is it's like we have 4 different tiers of financial risk. The base tier is where we store cash. It's our foundation. It's what gives us certainty. It's the reserves we have for emergencies, and it's money that's available for opportunities. So a lot of us as business owners, we're pretty lean on cash because we're always trying to reinvest in the business, hire new people, new marketing, new equipment, new opportunity, expansion into a new location, perhaps an office building to work out of, and that extracts cash from our bank accounts. And then we start to feel lean. And as we feel lean, we get this fire under us that says, oh, I better produce again, and we fill up the capacity of that next opportunity. We do whatever we can to make that work. And at this Money is Mastermind, as we're talking about the family bank with people, they're like, man, I'm investing in my 401k, I've got my IRA, I'm considering changing it for the first time in my life because I didn't even know this was possible, into a self-directed, where I can invest in real estate. I had no clue I could do that. I was always investing just in stocks and mutual funds and ETFs and whatever my company provided to me in my 401k. Well, as business owners, we also set up 401ks sometimes for our employees, for ourselves, and we're kind of stuck in the same mentality. Well, what's fascinating is oftentimes we don't recognize what's happening. We think we're doing the right thing. We think we're investing for our future by putting money into a 401k structure, which in essence is a partnership with the IRS that says, the IRS is setting the terms and conditions. If you want to have a tax deferral, not pay tax today on some of your money, and typically it's about $7,000 to $8,000 a year at most, unless you're in a very specific strategy where you can get as a business owner $25,000 to $50,000 a year. But when we do that, when we deposit money into an investment brokerage account like Fidelity, and then we wrap a tax blanket around it called a 401k or an IRA, then we now have a partnership with the government that says, we're not going to charge you the tax on this money yet. We're going to allow it to grow in the stock market. You can invest it how you want, but when you take it out of here, we're going to charge you tax at whatever the tax rate is at that point in the future. And we're not going to let you access this money for your own personal use until you're 59 and a half or older. So we exchange a tax deferral. So let's use $10,000 is a round number. $10,000, we get a tax deduction of say 30%, about $3,000. So we reduce our tax bill by $3,000, but we exchange liquidity. We lose $10,000 of liquidity. And now it's invested in the stock market that we have no control over. So this hierarchy of wealth that I'm talking about, these 4 tiers, the base tier is where we have opportunity money. Bank savings accounts, whole life insurance cash value that's protected against creditors if we have a bankruptcy lawsuit. It's protected against if you have bad outcomes in other investments. There's a death benefit that will pay out at the end of your life to replace those losses. It's got liquidity in it that you can borrow against for any purpose at any time. So we're teaching clients and prospective clients about that strategy where whole life is actually an asset. And when we design it properly, it can be a high cash value asset that's very liquid, just like a bank savings account, but safer and earning at a much higher rate, 5% net, tax-free. Okay, so we're having this conversation and we inform people your business is your second tier. Your business is where you primarily create cash flow. So we have to cycle money from tier 1 to tier 2, and in things we own and control directly. Real estate might be involved in that as well. And then we create cash flow from that and we cycle the surplus down to tier 1. And then every once in a while we might find a really good opportunity in somebody else's business, and this is where tier 3 happens. And if you can imagine an equilateral triangle, as you get toward the top of that triangle it gets narrower and narrower, and so that represents more risk and less dollars going toward that type of investment. So tier 3 is other people's investments, multifamily real estate, oil and gas deals, and other syndicate type deals. I would suggest 10 to 30% might go to that type of deal. If you have $100,000, no more than 10 to 30,000 would go to that type of investment. And then the top tier is speculation. It's this really tiny capstone where 0 to 10% of our money goes into stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, cryptocurrencies, and other speculative things. But what I find is almost all small business owners get lured away from their own tier 2 investment of their own business where they've put blood, sweat, and tears and all this energy. They take the surplus from that. Instead of reinvesting in their own business, they tend to invest in other people's businesses. What? Why do we start to diversify into other people's businesses when we still have room to grow our own? Just because you have some cash in the bank does not mean it's time to invest. It means it's time to sit on it and get really comfortable with it and honor it. You've worked really hard to create that surplus cash. Do not lose that money. That's one of the things I'm learning as I continue to engage with other entrepreneurial people and investment-minded people is cash is king. When we're in a position of cash, opportunities come to us. They're magnetized toward us. And so then we just have to filter out all the crap and all the messes that do not match with our investment criteria. Oh, that's the other thing. Do you have an investment criteria? Probably not. Most of us don't until we're informed that that's a good idea. And so I inform you it's a good idea to create a list of criteria just like banks do. For example, again, the family bank concept is based on how banks function very, very effectively. Banks gather money, number 1. Number 2, they lend money. Number 3, they get it back with interest. That's the 4 main things a bank does very, very well. Well, the investing phase is where they're very, very scrupulous. They take an application, get credit history, get our income, our tax returns, our debt, our assets. They do an analysis to determine debt-to-income ratio and our likelihood of being able to pay for the payment that we would be required to on the loan that we're asking for. And then, only then, will they give us a loan if we meet all of their specific criteria. And then also what they do, they ask for collateral. This house behind me, collateral. They have a lien against my house because I have a mortgage on this house that says if I don't make my payments for a certain period of time, they have a right to take my house, take it to a public auction, sell it to the highest bidder, get their principal back, the amount that's outstanding on the loan, and if there's a difference between what it sells for and what the principal is that I owe them, I get the difference. So they're backed up with collateral. They also require that I have insurance on this house. So if it has a fire, it can be replaced and they don't lose the asset in case I default on my loan. Right? So banks are very scrupulous about what they do before they invest. They will not invest in anyone for any purpose at any time. If you cannot qualify, you do not get money. So likewise, we want to have a very clear set of criteria for what we're willing to invest in. The next employee that we invest in, the marketing opportunity, the next location that we open up, the expansion into a bigger space that we're leasing, etc., etc. Perhaps a rental property at some point, perhaps a physical location like a building that you own for your business operations. Be very careful and scrupulous about those things. So money is what? Right? The concept behind this whole event I was at called Money Is, it's like money is ... What is it for you? So I want you to ponder on that. What is money to you? Does it represent freedom? Does it represent opportunity? Does it represent anxiety, fear, worry, concern? Perhaps it represents an opportunity to give to a cause you care about. Perhaps it's an opportunity to take a family trip and create a memory, right? So, guys, I just love the topic of money because it brings up all these emotional triggers that people have, that you guys have, that I have from time to time, and it helps us be more mindful of having a beautiful life. Money is a tool to help us get what we want more of in life, physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially. It's not the end in and of itself, it's the means to get to the end of our goals, to have a house that's paid for perhaps, or just a house in a location that you absolutely love. In fact, here's a house that I absolutely love. Here's my view, and it's not the absolute best view. I've got a blank spot for an above ground pool we're going to put up in about a month. I've got a playground for my kids. I've got about a third an acre. I've got a chicken coop that currently doesn't have chickens. I've got a place for a garden if I want to do that. I've got a trampoline that my kids are wearing out. This old play gym that they like to jump off and mess around with. I've got a shed. And I've got this farm-like quality because my neighbors are farmers. The Utah State University has a 100-year lease on that property behind my house. And so I get to have this view of the mountains in the background and the orchards in the foreground for a typical house. Like, I'm in a neighborhood that's mostly just like an urban neighborhood, suburban neighborhood, but I happen to have found a location that I absolutely love, right? That's one of my dreams, is to be in a place where I can raise my kids on some land, give them some work to do, enjoy some views, enjoy guests coming over, and like just being a good person. Another thing is to go out snowboarding. So I snowboard. I live in the mountains, so I can go snowboarding. I mountain bike. I walk around my neighborhood. I go for a run in a safe community. I work within my church. I do service. I care about my elderly neighbors. I do all these cool things because money's not that big a deal anymore. I've figured out enough. I have a good system for how to manage it. And to me, money is an opportunity to be very generous. Like, it's a way to seek purpose and accomplish the goals of my life and with my family. All right, so that was kind of my rant. Money was a really cool event. It brought forth to me the importance, and I guess reminded me of the importance of being very scrupulous about investments, because the presenters there were talking a lot about these types of core principles. Make good decisions with money. Don't be willy-nilly about it, but be proactive about it. So if you're coaching with me already, I hope this is insightful. If we haven't started coaching yet, if you're interested, there are some things I'm putting together where very near future we're going to have some group opportunities to do training. And I'm going to be inviting in a broader group of entrepreneurs to learn some of the principles I have found to be very effective and help create accountability to move you along on the path that you're seeking to be financially successful, financially independent, and ultimately financially free. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you in the next one.